Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're covering High Desert Brutality 24, Circle the Wagons. And that's pretty much what happened. If you look at this array while we watch the video, if you squint just right, you can even see the props are aligned in a way to kind of look like Conestoga wagons, all circled up as if they were ambushed moving westward. And this was a really great stage. This is kind of in a way defines Brutality, because you start out with your rifle and you're at the middle stagecoach where you have to get 5 rifle hits, caliber dependent on the type of firearm you're using. I had to get 1 hit using battle rifle. Intermediate calibers had to get 2 hits. PCCs had to get 4 hits per target. You had 5 arrayed across 3 different bays, so you had to move around. You couldn't just pivot in one spot. And then you safely ditched your rifle at a designated space, ran over to another place where there was a stage gun. In this case it was a lever action. I believe it was a replica of a Winchester 94, and you had to engage 6 knockdown targets downrange on the plate rack. However, you only had 5 rounds to do it with. Then you had 4 auto poppers that you engaged with your sidearm, and then any plate you had missed with the stage gun you could re-engage with your pistol and try to collect the bonuses for that. From there, you then hauled across the entire bay to the far side, where you had an auto popper you had to engage, but it was hid behind a spinner. You had to knock that spinner out of the way so you could make that auto popper engagement. From there, you ran to another bay in this complex where you had a series of boxes, and at the box you had 2 targets you had to engage and to move on to the next box. If you missed, you had to move back. Now, they did have a thing where you could lock in where you didn't have to move back if you missed, but you had an extra target you had to engage to be able to do that. So now that you know what's going on with this stage, let's take a look at my run, and then we're going to talk about it on the other side.
Ready, stand by. Hit. 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 Do it again. Hit. 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 Unsafe. Down the right. Come to the garbage. 5 shots in the plate.
Yeehaw!
The targets were really fucking small. Really fucking small. So even though you're not off by that much, it's you know, 2 shots. Pistol, pop it, boss. Hit. 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 Come to the spinner. To the board, move the spinner. Hit the popper. Hit. To the box. One per pistol round. Hit. Advance. Hit. Advance. Hit. Hit. Advance. Hit. Hit. Advance. Hit. If you are finished unloading your clip.
Alright, this was a really fun stage. I did pretty decent on this stage, and you know, this is one where, like, I think at this point I've figured out the offset on my rifle. As I mentioned earlier, if you didn't catch it on the transmission stage, that I had brought the wrong ammo for my rifle. Correct caliber, but wrong loading. And I had brought 175 grain Black Hills, which I used in my bolt gun for long range work. And in this DMR that I have based around a Delton AR-10, I use Hornady 168 grain match ammo. And two great ammos, but they do have different zeros depending on the weapon you're using. So the weapon I was using was zeroed for the Hornady. I had accidentally brought the Black Hills, created my own problem. But I figured out the offsets, because as you can see, the hits came for the rifle fairly quickly with only 1 miss, and I collected that fairly quickly. The stage gun went really well. I don't shoot lever guns very often. The one that I own is a 94 pattern, so that was to my advantage. But I don't shoot it that often, and when I do, I'm shooting for fun. So the fact that I went 5 for 5 was a nice surprise. The pistol work was fairly decent on the poppers. Running over to the spinner, that was a challenge because you had to hit it enough to get it moving, to get out of the way, to get the auto popper behind it. The M17 really performed there. It was able to keep on target, keep up a good staccato of fire, and with a few rounds got the bottom spinner out of the way and then tagged the auto popper right behind it. Then moved over to the boxes. I decided to play it conservative on the first box. I was first going, math says if you just make your hits, that's the fastest way through this for the best time. However, just as I missed that one of the shots on the first box, there's nothing to back up to. I decided, okay, I'm going to lock it in and go from there. So each of the next 3 boxes, I locked it in. On the 5th box, I felt really confident, didn't bother to lock it in, and still made the 2 hits. Overall, this was a super fun stage because it required rifle shooting from awkward positions, which made for a nice challenge. You had to fire a gun you weren't familiar with, also for a nice challenge. And the pistol presentations, there were plenty of them, and each was different. The auto poppers by themselves were different than the auto popper that had to be behind the plate that had to be knocked out of the way, excuse me, the spinner that had to be knocked out of the way. And then the precision required of moving box to box and the penalty of having to go back and reshoot if you missed really placed an emphasis on marksmanship. It was a good, fun stage, a great skill test. I really enjoyed this one, so kudos for Teddy on his design on this one. If you're finding this coverage of High Desert Brutality helpful and informative, please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in tomorrow for the next stage.